the better part of 15 years ago, I moved across country and I left my
Mhm.
friends and family for job and job opportunity. And I was always looking for excuses to hang out with my friends online. I suggested, let's play some Dungeons and Dragons. Never done that before. And became a dungeon master. I had a lot to chew. I bit off a lot, but I chewed it all eventually. And we had some really cool campaigns. There was no modules used. I did it all
Mhm.
homebrew, all my own stuff. The lore, the monsters,
Nice.
infrastructure, politics, you name it. And eventually, we, through my friends' players in this world that I designed, we made some really, really cool stories. And um, basically, in a nutshell, I wanted to tell some of these neat things. I've loved comics since it goes past the extents of my memory,
Mhm.
and I just figured I'll look around, shop around after writing a script, and see who has interest. And after asking some names on social media, excuse me, I got the hiccups. I got some people to say yes, and we just went on this little cool story. Because it's my first time on the creative side of a comic book, I wanted to make a mini series. I wanted to start strong and finish strong. So this is the third April I've been doing this, issue one, two, and three, beginning,
Mhm.
middle, end of a story. And I wanted it to be a complete package that, regardless of whether it's better or worse than insert comic that you like here, I wanted to feel that I put enough into it and I had the right talent attached that it was worthy of being side by side on a spinner rack next to insert comic here that you like.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point because I've never had a creator really talk about that. That they want their work to be on par with other, whether it be indie books, like you said, insert comic, whatever it is. And as an indie creator myself, like that's something I think about. Like when I'm creating something, when I'm writing something, is it as good? Does it belong here? Does it, it's a wide gamut, right? We have a
Mm-hmm.
ton of writing styles in the indie scene. We have a ton of creative art styles, but does it belong? And that's a really good point. So you mentioned you've been doing it for a while. Is there any like formal writing education, or is it just kind of learn as you go?
Um, See, it's funny when this is a tough one to answer, and this is my I think your podcast number 65 that I've been promoting issue three.
Okay.
Of the last 65 streams and podcasts, I have not been asked that. So that's a good question. I don't consider
Nice.
myself having a writing style. I consider myself, well, first and foremost, this story happened with my friends. The biggest difference is I took out the characters the players were playing as and I injected my own in. So there were some
Hmm.
dynamics I had to change in how these people synergize with each other and rub each other the wrong way, and all the little tiny fine details that have to do with character interaction. But for me, I never considered it writing a story as much as it was a script in conjunction with reporting history. Because in
Hmm.
my mind, the story already happened in how it's played out. So one comment I got from Victor Medina, my interior artist, he he hasn't had a script. I shouldn't say he hasn't had a script as easy to read. He said mine was very easy to translate to paper because I did
Hmm.
not say how a person felt as the rain was beating off their face. I would just say, person looks ticked off, rain is flowing down their
Yeah.
face, and just put it in bullet form. And one thing I found is the less you have to have creative constraints, but the less you have, the more options you give for the talent that you want to have their
Right.
talent flourish. The less amount of creative constraints, the more that chance happens. If you give too many creative constraints, you kind of choke out their flair.
Yeah.
So going back to the writing bit, I consider myself more like a fictional historian, just
Interesting. And
reporting the facts.
yeah, that's another great point because it's one of those things where we have a vision as a writer and we want the art to look a certain way, or we hire an artist and there's this balance of giving them enough to be creative with, but not constraining them so much that it limits their creativity. Because as an
Right.
artist myself, I don't like to be limited necessarily. Like if I want to draw some crazy bombastic page, like there's that freedom that we like to have.
Right.
And as writers, we have to allow our artists to be that way. So
Yes.
that's an interesting way to look at it, you know. And Vic does really great art. So it's just allowing the flower to blossom in a way, you know, and
I
just
hear
giving
you.
it the bare minimum in a way, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, what keeps you motivated to continue, you know, writing and, you know, kind of getting your stories out there?
Well, first, it's not my day job. So if I'm not
Okay.
interested, I don't write. So I
Okay.
don't have that pressure. Google, the better part of 15 years ago, Google brought in for a while what they called Google Time. And what Google Time was is anybody employed in that area, they got 1 hour to do whatever they want. The only kicker
Hmm.
was if they made something that was profitable, Google owned it. That because they're
Oh,
working. But
yeah.
it um, Google found its coolest additions, its coolest like widgets, its coolest apps came from Google Time, and they had some studies that proved out that when there's no pressure to perform, that artistic side, that flair isn't crushed. It can wander.
Hmm.
There's no deadlines. There's anything. You just okay. Now I get to work on Google Time. What was that thing I was doing? Oh yeah, let's see if I can make that work. As opposed to
Yeah.
the boss needs me to make this work, and he needs it done yesterday.
Right.
Suddenly, it doesn't become a passion, and it becomes employment, and
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
suddenly the money can take over, and it's very understandable to choke out certain parts of an artistic flair. For me, um, I could just do it at my whim. So I can't say who, but I have two writing gigs coming up. I'm flattered because the Madcaps is the first thing I've ever written. So
Okay.
I can't say who, but I'm very very happy to go down that avenue. Where in
Yeah.
this case there are deadlines. In this case, I can see what that's like with somebody else's sandbox, their own world. Can I make something that fits in and expresses accordingly? I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to that.
No, that sounds fun. I think it always would be fun to write other characters. You know,
Yeah,
whether it be
yeah.
your Batman, Superman, even like indie characters. Like we all read a lot of variety of books, and there's a ton of characters out there. So you know, they all have their own little stories and backstories. What were you know? What are your some of your biggest influences, whether they be comic related or film related or novel writer related? You know, what are some of your influences on that?
So the first one I'm going to use was childhood influence. I had a very hard time sitting down and reading a book. I found it very, very difficult. And
Hmm.
one of the first times me to just sit down and read a book was R.L. Stein and Goosebumps.
Oh,
I
nice.
read almost religiously for
Hmm.
a handful of years. I read the first 50, 60 books of that series. I think there was 70 or so, but regardless, I was motivated, and
Yeah.
I wanted to see these cool stories and stuff. At the time, I really enjoyed them. I outgrew them eventually. Took me a lot longer than any of my classmates, but in regards to comic books, Peter David, I really like.
Yeah.
I heavily enjoy. I mean, what could be said about him that hasn't been said yet? But he
True.
does a really good book. One of my transitions away from Goosebumps was actually a novel he wrote called The Incredible Hulk: What Savage Beast, which has to do with Bruce and Betty having Siamese twins, and the Maestro getting involved and trying to steal those kids, and it's a pretty wild ride. Doctor Strange is involved, and for 19, I think that was 1998 or 96,
Hmm.
maybe that came out. Um, very much enjoyed. That was kind of that was the first time I read what I considered a big kid book.
Yeah.
And in regards to comic writing, there's so many out there. I'll just stick with Peter David for now, but
Yeah.
you could go on and on.
I think a lot of us have. It's not just one or two people or even five people, right? There's like 10, 20, 30 people have influenced us all in all kinds of different ways.
Hmm.
As an artist, the list is kind of long, right? Even as a
Yeah,
writer,
yeah,
you look up to all these different people in their writing styles, and not just in comics, but also in film and script writing. So, or novels. It's a long, long list.
for sure. Yeah, I hear you.
um, what do you feel is kind of your biggest challenge as far as being a writer, getting your stories out there? What has really been one of your biggest challenges?
One challenge that I found was um making sure it fit in a certain range of page count.
Okay.
Not ending the story too quick or ending it too late. This miniseries that's 3 issues. Originally, it was supposed to be two, and the reason I stretched it out to three is because it had what I felt the information was too condensed.
Hmm.
Usually it's the opposite when you read something coming out by Marvel or DC. Hey, we need these two specific issues to line up on the same month. You make your ongoing monthly last another month before we debut these plot points?
Right.
I was the opposite. I There was too much going on and it had to be spread out.
Yeah.
That I would say that was the biggest challenge for me, trying to confine it in a box it didn't fit into.
That's interesting. I've never heard someone really explain it that way. For me, I do 4 issue miniseries, and I like to, in a way, stretch things out. I like to have a little bit more storytelling, a little bit more action. In a way, like because I'm the artist on a lot of the books,
Hmm.
or I can plan those out a little bit better. So it's like, oh, I need an extra page. Let me throw a splash page, and that
Right.
kind of will fill the
One
page and
panel
fill the page
becomes
count.
one page. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Um, how do you kind of manage? I mean, in this world of social media, where as an indie creator, as an indie writer, we are kind of wearing 10 different hats all at the same time. How do you manage the promoting of getting the word out and just letting everybody know? Because as an indie creator, right, the more eyes we have on our stories, our books, the better chance they have for success.
That's a solid point. The big one being how can somebody even say no to my product if they're not even aware of it, right?
Right.
So for me, because this is my first time, I've noticed issue 3 has been a lot easier to get traction this
Hmm.
last issue as opposed to issue 1. But because I'm fresh to this game, I've been doing a lot of metaphorical cold calling. So as I already
Hmm.
mentioned, you are podcast number 64, if I remember off the top of my head. I've got to put in the work. I can't
Yeah.
just my Kickstarter's on. Hopefully people see it at random.
Yeah.
I've been on the trenches. I've been networking. I review indie comics, and I tell all the people that I review for, hey, I've got this one come out. Just give a shout out. That would be awesome. But um, those are the biggest ones. The social media presence. I do post on Facebook and Instagram,
Hmm.
but I mean, there's a lot of social media platforms out there, and because I'm one person, I don't have somebody on staff to go through a dozen
Right.
different social media platforms and post something 3 things a week on each platform or anything like
Hmm.
that. So for me, I have it whittled down to 3 different things. I stick to that. I do my reviews and then I go on streams like I'm doing right now.
Yeah. It's for me, I feel it's like bittersweet, right?
Hmm.
It's great to have these platforms that were never there 15, 20 years ago. And they're there, but then there's also restrictions within them, and there's all
Yes.
this just back and forth, and the whole algorithm thing can really kind of turn the tide on some of what we're trying to promote. It's almost like you get punished for being social. It's like it's a social platform, but they only want you to kind of be social in this regard. Yeah, it definitely is a challenge to promote and stay on top of the game, and build a fan base and a following. I've also felt that as issues kind of go on, when you're doing issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, you do build that fan base because people kind of see that, hey, this guy is producing, this person is producing. What is it all about, right? So sometimes those social media posts or those podcasts kind of have more traction than prior issues or prior times doing things. But let's get into Mad Catz because we've been mentioned it a few times, and let's tell us all about it. I mean, we're on issue 3. Uh,
We're on the
Dive
third and
in.
final issue. We just hit quadruple funding, which is super exciting.
Hmm.
In a nutshell, and I've said this on other podcasts already, every human being, when you hit a certain age, there's a friend or a group of friends you don't get to see as much as you want to, and
Hmm.
sometimes your inner child longs for that social interaction with those people, and
Yeah.
it could get so bad and heavy and you don't even realize it. You could see somebody just passing in through the city in a parking lot for 5 minutes, and you're like, man, I really needed that. And this book is an homage to that level of camaraderie. It's just the theme
Hmm.
of fantasy told through the medium of a comic book. These four friends, they meet in their hometown for the first time, and they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They find themselves helping stave off an undead outbreak, and one thing leads to another, and they're inclined to believe it might have some correlation with a local drug issue, the drug being weave.
Hmm.
So, by issue 3, it's revealed this I don't consider this spoiler because it's in the first couple of pages of the book. It's revealed that all four friends they find out that a necromancer is trying to curse their hometown by sunrise. This is the
Mm.
near the end of the night. So these are people that have pulled an all nighter. They've exerted themselves quite a bit in a couple of different scenarios. They are not in top form and they're not in the best of shape. So the question is, will these four individuals be able to survive the night? It's very time sensitive. Even if they stop to go for help, they lose critical time.
Hmm.
Um, if you scroll up 2 covers, I'd love to talk about these covers. So Victor Medina, right there. Victor
Yeah.
Medina, he again interior artist. He did this for as a warm up for issue number 2 before he did the interiors, and this
Hmm.
was not revealed until after. So I said, dude, I want to make this the main protagonist cover of issue 3 because it rocks. A couple of color corrections later and dressing it, and I think it's
Hmm.
really good showing the scaling of all the characters. I think he did a great job, especially the magic effect, and
Hmm.
every character has a different expression, which I really appreciate. Body language, some look more posing, obviously, some look less,
Hmm.
but Victor did terrific there. If you scroll down to the next one, this is the main antagonist cover. She's not seen anywhere in issues 1 or 2,
Okay.
and I debuted this in October for the spirit of Halloween, and the person who illustrated this is Harv Salteras. He did the first year of Ghost Rider when Dan
Hmm.
Ketch took over in the 90s. He sketched all the interiors. He did all the covers for that first year, but he's also like done lots of other stuff, Catwoman, The Flash, and you name it.
Hmm.
Um, Dan Kemp colored this one. Dan Kemp has colored over 100 issues of Spawn. So
Yeah.
when you combine somebody who's illustrated a Marvel Hellspawn with somebody who's colored
Yeah.
images Hellspawn, it's just a cool combo. This is the second time I've gotten them to collaborate. They've never done that before, and I'm really happy I've gotten to see their talents combine for such a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah,
So,
and I've worked with Dave Kemp, Dave and Dan are
mhm.
brothers, and they do
Yes.
phenomenal work. It's been a pleasure working with both of them. So really good at what they do.
So that just going back to that last page, that Elven Necromancer, a lot of things are going down. This because this is a 3 issue miniseries. You can only
Hmm.
focus so much on character development. You've got
Yeah.
to introduce the characters. It has to have a good flow without rushing it. So when you finally get to see this person, it gets real heavy real quick. By the time this stream is broadcasted live, there'll be
Hmm.
some more things revealed, which I can't talk about yet. But make sure to check for updates on this Kickstarter.
Yeah.
The next page there, or the next cover there rather, that's a variant cover drawn by Jay Sloan, colored rather by Dave Kemp, as you already mentioned.
Hmm.
And this is Sarlacc the dwarf, and I wanted him fighting. I want him repelling the undead. He's got this protective ward around him. You could see some of the skeletons to the left of the page trying to bite through it. and I wanted it to feel like Jason and the Argonauts, the final fight scene with the
Oh
stop motion
yeah.
skeletons. I also wanted it to feel like a non-comedy version of the skeletons in Army of Darkness, and
Hmm.
Jay definitely he definitely has that feeling here. Sarlacc has his axe as a holy weapon, so you can see as he's splitting that skull, you can see light shining out of it, almost like
Hmm.
the skull is allergic to what's getting injected into it. It's a beautiful piece. This is also it's also available as a T-shirt, and it's also available as a foil poster
Oh,
further
nice.
down. But going on to the next cover, this is Madrakis. Everybody seems to like Madrakis a lot. This large, 6'6.5" tall, over 350 pounds. But the scariest thing about him is his brain. That book in his hand is actually a plot device that is shown in the second issue. It has more in play going into the third issue, and Madrakis is um, one thing I like about Madrakis the most is he has. I wanted him to feel like he outgrew this common trope. This person's big, therefore they're stupid, a meat shield,
Oh
and good for nothing, but
yeah.
that one big haymaker metaphorically against the other stupid meat shield on the other side. This guy, he's the opposite. He wears this ceremonial armor to reflect a culture of a people he does not know too well. He's hatched and raised by humans. He descends from a large kaiju like electric eel known as the Great Stormworm. And despite all of that, the real scary stuff is his potential with the arcane, which you get to see a little bit in this. But he is physically imposing, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of that sword, but he's not a skilled fighter. And a skilled fighter one on one could probably take him despite his size and everything else.
Nice.
Oh,
Interesting.
I apologize. That's done by Mike Mez Phillips and colored by
Okay.
Dan Kemp. Apologies, I didn't say that one earlier.
No,
But
it's okay.
shout out to both of them. These guys. It's an honor to have them work
Hmm.
on something that's been in my head.
Yeah.
This is a homage to Final Fantasy for the NES. It looks like four heroes against the bad guy. Anybody listening
Hmm.
that's ever played Final Fantasy, they'll probably
Oh yeah.
notice the position of the villain is Garland. If you ever image search that, one of the things that Jenna Stark did so well with this is it feels like the 8-bit expression. This was kind of like the myth or the man behind the myth. That's what
Hmm.
has a realistic feel. It looks like Final Fantasy, but it looks like its own thing at the same time. She did a really good job
Yeah.
with expressing it. Came out real beautifully.
Yeah, that's fun. There Hibash covers have kind of exploded in the last several years, and although when done correctly, I think they're fun. This is one of those times where it's not overdone and it's fun. Like
Yes.
I really enjoy that because it's almost an obscure reference, but it's still for kind of people that played Final Fantasy, nerds like me.
Well,
We get it.
for me, I didn't do it per se. I thought it was cool. That's why I
Yeah,
did it. So yeah, some people might pick it out, some people not. That's fine.
yeah.
Some people
But
might just like it for what it is and not even know the reference. Cool.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, this one was done by Fish Lee. This is Dunanini,
Hmm.
the little half dwarf, half gnome who doesn't understand why, but similar to how his gnomish mother has magical influence over nature, he has a similar ability, but over metals and crystalline structures. And he's got a telescope that peeks over his shoulder and blasts
Hmm.
raw arcana out of it, which is really amusing to see somebody under 4 feet in height walk up to a tree and reduce it to splinters. I just find that amusing. But when I said to Fish, I said three things. I want Dunanini walking away from a building, well, what used to be a building. I want
Hmm.
the fire coming from the building to be the only light source. And finally, when you make this, keep in mind it's going to be a lava foil cover.
Hmm.
And I am very excited to see this thing. He knocked it out of the park. It's
Yeah.
just a good choice of. He doesn't have a lot of color to work with, if that makes sense, but he makes it work, man. It's well done, well put together.
Yeah, Fish is another great artist I'm familiar with. Yeah, really good stuff.
This one's done by Pogs Art, and it is colored by Dave Kemp. And this is Chasgo, the blue-skinned elf. Chasgo, um, in real life, when humans eat too much silver, it actually tattoos their skin and it turns them blue. You can look on YouTube, Oprah. She interviews one of these guys. It looks like something you'd see on a movie set. Looks like they're getting their
Mm,
makeup ready to be something. Like a pop of Smurf, if you will. These
mhm.
these elves, Chasgo's people, they have a similar dynamic, except because it's fantasy and all that silver in their system, they have a high resistance to magic, which is pretty cool.
Mm.
Um, you've already read issue 2, so you've seen his pet, this three-eyed crow named MX.
Yeah.
I like MX a lot. MX is kind of like his own personal drone, if you will. You can
Hmm.
see through MX eyes, and Chasgo has a lot of cool things going for him. A lot of people really like Chasgo a lot.
And then we're into some interior pages, and this is all Victor's work, right?
Yes, and Dan Kemp's coloring. This is
Nice.
that's page 1. It picks up right after page 2. And like I said, there's some information revealed where they got to start making some plans as to how to fix this. It's time sensitive, and they don't have a lot of
Hmm.
options to work with. So here we
Yeah.
have um, them conversing and riding on horse. And the only other page I show is right in the middle of some random action. You can see the main
Hmm.
antagonist. You can see Madrakis getting roughed up without context. And you can see that she has her own little backup. So um, there's some gravity here. These characters, they
Yeah.
have their own metaphorical signatures or haymakers, and so they stand out. But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean they're the best of adventurers or fighters. So in this scenario, I mean, in issue 1, as you already read, within a handful of pages, 3 of them almost get overwhelmed. And I've made the
Yeah.
joke, when the guards save them, it's the equivalent of Captain Kirk getting saved by a bunch of red shirts. I wanted to feel like these guys are not invincible. I wanted to
Yeah.
feel like everybody respects Kryptonian ability like Superman, but
Right.
everybody appreciates Batman having nothing and pulling off a win.
Yeah.
And the only difference in this scenario is they don't have Batman caliber plot armor. They don't have all the gadgets, all the
Yeah.
money. These guys are they have some cool perks to them, but that doesn't mean they are the mightiest in the realm. That's for sure.
And they're all uniquely different, and I think that's what builds good stories and good characters is that you could have all four of the same characters that kind of come from similar backgrounds, and that may be interesting on some level, but to have completely uniquely different characters, I think time is told that that's what makes really really good stories, and we have fun with those. And these are some of the rewards, obviously, like your PDFs, your digital rewards, your all your varying covers and stuff.
And very important, anybody listening, all 3 issues are available here. There's a catch up
Nice.
tier, both PDF and physical.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of cool stuff here, including sketch covers. Any artist here, you can get all 3 issues as sketch covers, which is awesome. So if
That's
that's
cool.
something you're looking for, you can get into that.
Hmm.
All of the covers we've already mentioned, as you can see here. There's add-ons. We've got a map of where this whole story takes place and the surrounding area as well. We have t-shirts. We have blankets. Blankets are there's 3 different covers. Oh, hey, that at the top there, just underneath the ×3, that image
Hmm.
there, we have a special edition trilogy. And so all 3 issues with brand new covers, but when you
Hmm.
combine them, it makes that image, which is a depiction of the final act of book 3.
Nice. That's really cool. That's really
Yeah,
actually
and
really
it's going
cool.
to be
Yeah.
virgin like that. It's not going to be
Hmm.
dressed. This is something that if you were to hang it up on a wall, people say that's a cool picture. Well, it's funny. You can read about this picture. It actually
Yeah.
happens. There's 2 issues worth of build up to get to that, and the awesome thing happens. So that's definitely us. If you guys like hanging like good art, this was done by Rod Ramos Rodolfo from Brazil
Hmm.
and colored by, of course, Dan Kemp. Um, have you seen the trailer yet to this book?
I don't think so. Was that at the beginning, the video?
Yeah, it's at the top there. Why don't we go to that for a second? And then come back to this after, because there's something
Sure.
I want to at least mention slightly.
Sure. Let's play this and we'll go full screen here.
No volume.
Nice.
That was strange. Were you able to hear the volume? I didn't hear it on my end.
I was able to hear it. If not, I'll make sure it's there.
Oh, cool. Anyways, that little jump scare at the very end, you can see it
Hmm.
on in Rod's special edition trilogy covers. You can see one creature's leg, and that's the only context we have in that. Everything
Hmm.
else, I've been playing that one really close to the chest. I've had some good questions about what's this creature and how does it fit in. I wish I could tell you more. You're just going to have to back this thing and get some more, get all the goods then.
And that is, was that
Keep
part
going.
of this here?
Yes, that's right. So the creature on the right there, you can see Chaz going done and squaring off with this thing,
Hmm.
almost like mirrored to Madrakis on the left, squaring off with the main antagonist, and then Sarlacc doing his thing, repelling the undead. Um, I like Sarlacc because he's devout to something known as the divine, but he grew up a farm boy, so he's kind of like an
Hmm.
axe wielding holy man of the wild. I really like his character a lot. I like them all, but Sarlacc is very interesting in his own way, just like the rest.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really cool. I always loved connecting covers growing up as a kid, kind of late '80s, early '90s. Image Boom, and they just did all this. Like it was just always unique. It was always
yes,
something fun and creative, and that's one of the things that really drew me into comics early on was being different.
yes, yeah, something that stood out.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Here we have that's the digital catch up underneath.
Hmm.
So all three issues they'll have they're of the main covers. With one exception underneath that, you'll see the Jenna Stark collection. And
Hmm.
Jenna Stark's collection, she's the only artist who's made a variant cover of all three books. So that at the
Okay.
top there, you'll see there's Dunanini for issue one. There's a stained glass interpretation of something that happens in issue two with Sarlacc. And then, of course, issue three, the Final Fantasy tribute.
Hmm.
Um, um, it was pretty neat to be able to pull something like that off.
Yeah.
There's the physical catch up underneath that. There's also options if you like three of the covers for issue three. You can pick any three. We
Okay.
also have anybody that likes playing D&D. We have character sheets that are based off of fifth edition D&D. I translated these characters to D&D as level 5 characters, and it wasn't bad. I had to do some embellishing and altering the characters a bit, but I think
Hmm.
anybody that's enjoying this and likes playing D&D, that page is just fresh and good to go. You'll have a lot of fun. Underneath that, you'll see Michael Towson. Michael Towson is a professional voice actor and dungeon master, and if you buy into this tier, you will have the option of playing a one shot with him. He is if you've always been interested in playing a game and never have, this guy will have you up to snuff within 10 minutes. He's really good at what he does.
Nice.
He's for any parents out there, for 10 to 15 years ago, there's a cartoon called Talking Tom and Friends. He was
Hmm.
Talking Tom. He's done a lot of
Oh,
voice acting for like William
nice.
Shatner and Disney and others. But he's very accommodating. He's very approachable. He's just a good time um, to play a game with. So for a first impression of D&D, he's an excellent buy-in, and more importantly, all of the money for this tier it goes towards paying for his services rather. I don't make a cent off of that tier.
Okay, nice, nice. Yeah, and we got
Um,
shirts, obviously. Yeah.
yeah, enthusiast, you could pick one cover and one T-shirt. Underneath that, there's blankets of all three of the main covers. Underneath that, you can get all 7 covers, including the glow in the dark and the foil. 2 people have already backed that already, which is really cool. Underneath that, there's the complete collection of issue 3. Somebody backed that as well. I'm very grateful. It's very nice of them. Then
Hmm.
underneath that, there's the omnibus, which is the same thing except it has a copy of issue 1 and 2 with it. Underneath that,
Nice.
we have all the add-ons. I mentioned the map. Here we have a pinup Sean Langley did for issue 1. For $5 more, you can get the black and white copy of it. We have 2 metal foil images. That first one of Chasgo, that was a variant cover of issue 2. It was metal foil. People liked it so much, I brought it back. And
Yeah.
also, Jay Sloan and Dave Kemp rather did this one as well. I
Hmm.
decided to make that metal foil. I think it really popped. There's also underneath, as you can see, T-shirts. We have one secret stretch goal revealed. Anybody that's listening that's on this Kickstarter page, you can look at the updates to see what that homage pinup by John Zamar looks like. And then after that is just the team, of course, which is myself,
Hmm.
Victor Medina, Dan Kemp, and Micah Myers. And then, of course,
Hmm.
shout out to Philip Russert, who um, he's published my book and he likes it so
Hmm.
much he's going to be putting it into distribution. It's going to local comic shops. I'm beside myself. I'm very flattered. For a first time writer to have somebody say, "Hey, this belongs in an LCS." Um,
Hmm.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Phil is. I've known him for a while now. He's a really nice guy, really approachable as well,
Mhm.
and he's doing some things that are kind of breaking the mold within the indie comic
Yes,
sphere, and it's nice that someone is able to do that, right? That has the resources to do that, but is also passionate about folks like us that are indie creators, giving us a platform, giving us distribution, giving us print on demand is something new that he's mentioned and he's
right.
went public with, that allows us to, in a way, kind of make money off our books. Because a lot, I think when I ask
Yes,
struggles with a lot of creators, financial struggles are always front and center. So
yes.
anytime we can get a little bit back, I think it helps us to continue to publish the great stories that a lot of us tell. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the first 2 issues. Victor does really great work. And he's like an all in one kind of artist, as far as I know. He does all the artwork, coloring, pencils, inks, the whole nine. Um, yeah, fantastic covers. I
Thank
definitely
you.
get out there and look at this and support it, and it's a
Do you
lot
have a
of fun.
favorite character?
uh I I'm partial to dwarfs. So
Well, you know what? It's funny. My goal was to make sure each one of these characters had their own time to shine.
yeah.
An exaggeration of the opposite to this would be the third X-Men movie, which should just be called Wolverine and Friends. I didn't want it to be one character heavy.
Yeah.
So I find most people that are really liking the book, they don't have one per se that stands out. They might narrow it down to 2 maybe, but
Hmm.
they can't say, you know what, I like this one over the rest. They I wrote it in a way where each character, if you removed them, the story does not work on their benefit. So they all have value. They
Yeah.
all bring something to the table.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about like all the new Spider-Man movies. Is it's Spider-Man and friends? It's never just Spider-Man. I mean, I know a lot of people like kind of having a brain fart here on the actor that plays the new Spider-Man, but
Tom Holland.
yeah, yeah, Tom Holland. He's fun in the Avenger movies and Civil War or whatever he was in, but like in his solo movies, I just was kind of like, it's just Spider-Man and friends. It's not really him,
One of the
and that's
toughest things with Tom Holland is that um, it's established in a universe. Well, two things. The first one, it's in an established universe where his name Johnny Storm could fly by, assuming that
Yeah.
they're all together and stuff. That could be a thing in New York. But more importantly, there's other dynamics to consider, such as, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield already established how this um, expectation and popularity has gone. So in a lot of cases, the current Spider-Man kind of rests a little bit on those laurels, but also
Hmm.
stands in
Hmm.
that shadow. So it's very hard. I really get what you're saying. They're just trying to make sure that they're different from the other two
Right.
tellings, and let's add insert character here. Like, let's
Yeah.
add a Spider Verse. Although I'm not a fan of Spider Verses, but I was really happy to see Toby and Andrew. If that's all,
Oh,
assuming they're not in Secret Wars, which apparently they are, but
oh.
if we saw them just in Spider-Man No Way Home and that was it, I'm
Yeah.
glad they left on a high note as opposed to the way they bitterly fizzled out.
Yeah,
But
I agree. And I think there's a lot of challenges when you mentioned that you're writing four different characters in a way that's like equal, kind of equal opportunity for each character to shine, and the story doesn't work without one of those four characters. That I think that it can't be stressed enough how difficult that is to really pay attention to each individual character. It's almost like screen time, right? You don't want necessarily one character to have an hour of screen time in a hour and a half movie. So and you do a really good job of it, of just making sure
thanks,
that
man.
each character is unique, each character is different, but they each have kind of their own screen time and their own they bring something to the story, and
Mhm.
without that thing that they bring, it lacks, it would lack a little bit,
Well, for me, I had a cheat code for this because I based it off of people I actually know. And on
Hmm.
top of that, when I was actually going through this script, I used Roll20, which is an online platform for playing tabletop RPGs like D&D.
Hmm.
Well, I made a one-player game just myself, and I put in all these tokens. And at this point, would these characters do this? And if I'm basing it off the people I know, if it's based off of them, what they really appreciate, and I get to exaggerate their strengths and their flaws. This
Hmm.
person would say this. This person would do that there. So I was surprised how well it melted together. I do. I mean, I never turned down credit, but at the same time, I kind of feel like I cheated.
we That's interesting. I've never had someone in being like playing Dungeons and Dragons, someone who always wanted to play but never really knew the right people, or I guess hung out in that group. And it would be fun. I love the sci-fi. I love the sword and kind of fantasy type of films and storytelling. This has a very much Dungeons and Dragons feel.
Mhm,
It has like these characters that come together to go on this adventure, but they're not all great. They
mhm.
have flaws, and but they also have the strengths. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would say, get out there and back it, and enjoy reading it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
The most important thing, as I was already saying, anybody that misses their friends, they'll like this in some degree. I I didn't if I didn't think this was worthy of the industry, I wouldn't have released it. I think it's very cheap for me to say I'm a big deal. If you don't believe me, ask me and I'll tell you. So I'm not. I could pump up this book all day, but I have repeat backers and repeat readers, which is very
Hmm. Hmm.
encouraging. So the only way you can really have an opinion on this is if you go and back it. So anybody listening
Yeah.
right now, just give it a. If you give it a shot, I guarantee you that you will start the book. This whole thing takes place in one night, so you'll feel trapped in the night with them. And when it's done, and the last couple pages has the sun going up, you can close the book and be like, yeah, that was a complete story, and I appreciated it for
Hmm.
what it was.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I'm a huge fan of small cast with short, like day story, like short storytelling in a way. I don't know
Day in the
how to
life
necessarily,
settings.
yeah, explain
Yeah.
it. Like it's just one of those things that I like, stories that take place within like 1 or 2 days, and complete stories, right, where it
Yes.
wraps up and you're like, okay, let's go on the next adventure. We
Yes.
finished that. Let's have some more. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun kind of learning more about the characters and the stories outside of, the couple issues that I was able to read. Although you do definitely dive into a lot of the characters and the stories, but it's been a pleasure kind of chatting with you and learning more about it. So yeah, feel free to. I'll put everything in the description, and we
Mhm.
will promote this as best we can. And
Appreciate it.
we're already funded, so I mean, for anybody that's wanting to back it, there's a lot of really cool rewards, but it's already funded, so you're going to get the book. And I can speak for Phil, working with him personally. Like, he's someone that gets those Kickstarters fulfilled. Like, he's not one of those guys. So
Yeah.
um, that doesn't fulfill Kickstarters. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people today. So, um, been a lot of fun. I appreciate you on the show, and welcome back anytime you got another book going on.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for having me. Anybody listening looking for me, you can find the Madcaps Facebook page. You can find me as DM Ray on Facebook. DM is short for Dungeon Master. You could also find me on Instagram as Raymond, the DM. DM Ray taken. But most importantly, check out this Kickstarter, watch that
Hmm.
trailer, and see some cool stuff. There's a couple different digital options, and if that's your kind of thing, give it a shot. I guarantee you, you will have a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time with the first two issues. I'm looking forward to the third issue. So, it's been a pleasure, and I will see you all on the next episode. Thanks again.